Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Present.
Councilmember Roosing?
Here.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Here.
Councilman Sischka?
Here.
And the record will reflect that Mayor Mangarelli is excused from the meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Whitfield.
Yes, Madam Chairman and members of the board, let me take that off so you can hear me.
Thank you.
This is the annual budget adoption for our two community facilities district. First up is the main district. It's not one, it's just called Hacienda Community Facilities District.
Mark, sorry to
Yes.
cut you off. The very first item is the approval
Oh,
of the
I'm
minutes
sorry.
from last year, actually, before we get into the resolution.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the Hacienda Community Facilities District minutes as presented.
Second.
So we have a first and a second. Let's vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Orr.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Now we'll go over to item number 2.
Sorry about that. Madam Chairman, again, this is the budget for fiscal year 2021. This district was formed back in '96. Its sole purpose is to collect assessments from the property owners out there and pay off the bonds that were used to build infrastructure out in the district. Very exciting year because this is the last year that this district will be around. This will complete the 25-year bond will pay off in this coming fiscal year.
Very good. So can we have a motion, please?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt resolution number 48.
Second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Orr.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Very good. So Sarah, are we now ready to go to our next Hacienda?
Yes, so we'll need to adjourn the current meeting,
Right, so we will adjourn that meeting.
and now you can convene the Hacienda Facilities
And
District
so
number
we will
2.
call the Hacienda Community Facilities District number 2 to order. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
First and second, let's take a vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr.
Yes,
Passes 6-0.
thank you. And then I'm trying to find the next item.
Public hearing and adoption of resolution number 25, approving the budget for Hacienda Community Facilities District number 2 for fiscal year 2021.
Very good. Can we have, go ahead,
Yes,
Mark.
thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, this is the public hearing and annual budget adoption for the District Number 2, and this was a district that was added on to after the initial development had been started, much smaller district. It is, what the debt was issued in 2000, I believe it was 2000. So we have 4 more years on this district, so it will be around for a couple more years. With that, again, much smaller district, much smaller expenses, as you can see. A lot of the people in this district has already paid off their loan, their special assessment.
Thank you, Mark. So can we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need to roll call.
That's okay.
Excuse me.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Orr.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Very good.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt resolution number 25, setting the FY21 budget for Hacienda Community Facilities District number 2.
Second.
Let's take a vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
All right. So now, Sarah, we can move on to our regular voting meeting,
So we just have to adjourn this meeting,
we'll
and then
adjourn
yes,
this
we can
meeting.
convene
Thank
the
you.
regular meeting.
and then we will adjourn, call our regular voting meeting into order. And do we have Mayor Mangarelli on the line?
He is on the line. I'll do roll call if you can just give me
Very
one
good.
second.
So today we will be having a voting meeting, Tuesday, July the 14th, 3:02 p.m., a little bit later because we've had a couple of other meetings. Appreciate everybody's patience on Zoom. And let's go ahead and do our invocation. We have Reverend Dave Skurler with the Shepherd of the Hills Lutheran Church. Thank you,
Thank
Reverend,
you.
for coming.
You are quite welcome. It's a privilege. Almighty God, you have given us a good land as our heritage. Grant that we remember your generosity and constantly do your will.
Pretty cool.
Bless our community with honest industry, truthful education, and an honorable way of life. Save us, O Lord, from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil course of action. Defend our liberties, and give to those whom we have entrusted the authority of government the spirit of wisdom, that there may be justice and peace in our land. When times are prosperous, may our hearts be thankful, and in troubled times, do not let our trust in you fail. Lord, keep this community under your care. Bless our council members, that we may be a people at peace among ourselves and a blessing to the other communities in Arizona. Grant that we citizens of Prescott contribute to wise decisions for the general welfare and serve you faithfully in our generation. And all this we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Steve Blair will now lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this is a first for us, I believe, having a Zoom council meeting.
It is.
And I just want to thank the staff that's helped us so much. With all of our boards and commissions, we've done a lot of Zoom meetings. And Sarah, I want to thank you and your staff for doing this. So we're going to lean on you probably quite a bit today. So if we could go ahead and do our roll call, and then we'll move forward.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Mangarelli,
Yes, I'm present.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr,
Here.
Councilman Blair,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Here.
Councilmember Roosing,
Here.
Councilwoman Scholl,
Here.
Councilman Sischka.
Here.
All are present.
So Sarah, did you have any consent items pulled?
No one notified me of any in advance of the meeting.
Okay. Then can we have a motion for consent?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve consent agenda items 6A through 6G.
Second.
So we have a first and a second, and now let's do a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Blair,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl,
Yes.
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 Mayor Mangarelli. Mayor Mangarelli.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 7-0.
Very good. We'll move on now to our regular agenda, and our first item is about our budget.
Public hearing for the fiscal year 2021 budget, expenditure limitation, and tax levies, and at a special meeting, adoption of resolution number 2020-1748, adopting the final fiscal year 2021 budget, expenditure limitation, and city job roster.
Go ahead, Mark.
So we're in a special meeting on the budget. This is our public hearing. As you know, we had to defer this because of a publishing issue that we had. But as we start through this, I wanted to just cover some sales tax numbers that we just got in. I sent out preliminary schedules middle of last week, so you could all see them, but we'll talk about them here. And I have one update that happened since that time.
Okay.
It just updated the numbers a little bit. Again, a pie chart of the composition of our tax that's collected by sector, by NAICS code, just to give everybody an indication. Again, it's more just to get everybody familiar with the fact that the larger areas of our tax pie are what drive the overall number. Here we go, looking at 3 months, March activity, April activity, and May activity. Let me see if I can move this little thing somewhere. It's always in the way, isn't it? Yeah, we'll cover up the bad news there. Is there a way to minimize it, Sarah?
No, there's no.
This won't minimize it? Oh, that'll minimize it.
I have my hard copy if you want it, Mark.
Okay. It's fine. I have it memorized. And again, just some numbers. These are a little updated from the ones I sent you. We had some more rental properties reporting, so I believe you had a bigger negative in May than is shown on this chart on the one I sent earlier, and we had a few more motor vehicle sales locations report, so we have a little bit better numbers across the board. We can, of course, see the two big bad areas, which are obvious with restaurants, came back up, only being down almost 30% in May as opposed to the 51 in April. And, of course, hotels going from 80 back to 52%. And, again, we included the last line on these is our fiscal year-to-date number, just to kind of give an indication. We've had a couple really bad months, but they are off of a relatively good year. If I get the screen to work. This is the total tax collected each month compared to the year before. So you can see we had some very good months throughout the year. The trend line here is the overall average for the year. Again, May ended up, because the big losses, of course, were in smaller pieces of the pie, so we were actually down just under 2%. May actually ended up high. I'm sorry, April was the one that was down 2%. May is actually 10% over last May, and bringing our overall fiscal year-to-date number at just over 7% positive year-to-year comparison, which is interesting. I don't want to really call it good because we really don't know the extent of everything yet, or how this is going to play out over the next 12 months, which is foreseeable how long we could be with COVID as we move forward. So it is encouraging news, but I wouldn't run to good. It's just kind of what it is at this point. With that, a reminder of what the budget process was, and again, our publishing error we had back in June. And we are here today for the public hearing on three things: our fiscal 21 budget, our alternative expenditure limitation for 21, as well as the property tax for 21. And then after that, we will go to a special meeting to consider adoption of that budget. This is Schedule A of the legals, which are out on our website and have been published in the papers. It gives an overall summary by the different fund types and the collections. It's a very high-level summary of the budget. There's additional detail that is part of that, of the legal schedules, but it is just at the individual fund levels. Just to recap, just to kind of compare them together here at some significant levels that people are interested in. The operating budget we have broken out in a few areas. Our basic operations is down 1.2%. We talked about that in detail at our workshop. PSPRS is budgeted down, but again, sales tax is showing growth, so we're probably going to have to go for a reappropriation like we had to this year, hopefully at the end of next year if everything continues strong. But again, as we've said, we've put a large contingency in this budget because we are going to have to be moving stuff around to meet the needs as we go through this very challenging year ahead of us. So we did increase that significantly up to $10 million. That'll give council the ability to go through and increase funding where it needs to be, the spending of the AZ CARES funds that we have and the other things that are out there. It just gives the capacity because like we've said many times, the governmental budget is different than your home budget or even your business budget. It is a legal limit, and you cannot spend over it even if you have the cash or people give you the cash, you're capped. So we want to always have enough contingencies in there to be able to move things around. Our capital budget fluctuates with projects, and again, that's basically down this year. Overall, our budget was down 6%. A lot of that is driven by the change in capital, but we also did cut a lot out of operations. We identified a lot as contingencies. This is the property tax slide, Schedule B from the legals that are out on our website again, just to kind of give you an idea. Our tax rate going from 0.2599, it's right here on the sheet, from last year to 0.2484. Again, each year we we kind of compare this mythical $200,000 house in the city of Prescott that never changes in value from year to year. Just as to take one more variable out of the change. Again, we could make this any number you wanted. Again, we'll be going from about $52 a year, which is what was paid this year, to $49.68, I believe, $48.68. And we always compare to the fire districts which surround the city, and if you're not in the city, you're in a fire district. Obviously, their tax rate is not subsidized by sales tax like our public safety, so their rates are much more on the property owners, and you can see that there about 10 times, over 10 times. So with that, just to recap, we're on the 14th today for these things, and then on the 28th, we'll be bringing back the property tax levy for the new year for council consideration. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments?
I support the budget, and I'll just say one more time that I support our employees. And I know that we have a section there called contingency, and I can appreciate that. In lieu of what I've done here on council for the past 19 years, I'd have to say, you know, some of the things we do as a council person, number one is the services we provide. And those are police and fire, water, sewer, solid waste, streets. And those really are the most important things that we look at in a budget. And so when we start talking about employees and who runs those services, I value them a lot. And so I don't look at them as contingency. And based upon the world we live in today, in the police being whipping posts across the country, I value them even more in this community. So therefore, I support them 100%. And to ever think about reducing their budget is absolutely asinine. What I would suggest, Mr. Manager, in the CARES Act, we have money to make sure in the future that our police officers get the highest training, get body cameras, get the things that we need to have them have to be able to protect themselves in the job that they've chosen to do for our city, and also to protect us as citizens. So when we start looking at later on council contingencies, I think our employees, public safety, meaning those very guys on the street, when there's a phone call of a domestic violence, they have to send 2 officers. They don't know what they're going to show up with. Like a carpenter, if you're a carpenter, you don't show up with a welding torch. You show up with the tools you need for the job. So I want to make sure our police officers are paid well at market value with our pay compensation study. If we lose a police officer, it's hard enough to have new police officers sign up in the world we're living in today. And I'd hate us to see us lose good seasoned officers based upon not being paid market value in this economy. So that's just my little pitch. I will support the budget 100%. I'm not happy that we've decided to sideline our studies and think that we can put them on the back burner to see what's going to happen, as we can see right now. And I know, Mark, you're the budget guy and you always walk softly through the sticker bushes. But I still think our employees are the most valuable people in this community. And if we needed to sidetrack a project over our employees, I would much rather sidetrack a project than treating our employees differently. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilman Blair. Councilwoman Rusine.
Thank you. Mark, I have a question. You increased the contingency fund from 4 million to about 10 million, 148% increase. That's quite a wonderful thing. I was wondering where did those funds come from to increase our rainy day fund?
Well, again, it's a contingency. I really wouldn't classify as a rainy day fund. This is not the fund balance, the full fund balance. This is just a budget contingency if council wants to direct some of the fund balance into various things. The increase from the 4.1, which is what, it wasn't 4.1, I'm sorry, it was like 4.5 at the workshop. It was 4.1 last year. We had it.
I rounded.
Yeah, we had a little higher this year. came from the AZ CARES money, which will
So
be
that's-
received
that's
this
where
year,
it's
but it's
entered.
available, yes.
Okay,
And that way, council can use it wherever it feels it needs
Okay,
to.
thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councilman Good.
I know I took a pledge to do everything we can to retire the PSPRS tax as quickly as possible. I know most of the members of the council agreed with that. And as we have done a diligent job of reducing our unfunded liability, we've seen that the annual required contribution has dropped from nearly $8 million in fiscal year 19 to a projected $5.4 million in fiscal year 21. However, that calculation is based upon PSPRS's two factors. One, a approximately 17-year amortization schedule, where we have about 7 years left in our tax for the 443. So if we re-amortize that, that minimum arc would increase, and also the fact that PSPRS has a smoothing process that doesn't allow immediate impacts for major losses in their portfolio. So we won't see an increase in that component if, and most likely, the continued loss of revenue throughout the state and throughout our community because of the economic impacts of COVID-19. So I made a pledge to the taxpayers that I would not support anything less than an $8 million allocation to our ARC. So that would require an additional several $1 million to those payments, in addition to the PSPRS projection of about 10.8. So I intend to keep that pledge, and I've talked to Mark Whitfield about trying to find some way of including a line item so we could monitor the PSPRS requirements on the ARC. And I think we're probably going to have to start taking a close look at the ASRS impacts to the rest of the staff. That's not in the public safety section, but that's something that we can work on in the future. So I would require, in order for my support of the budget, to have some additional either CARES Act or a recalculation of how much we're going to pay toward the ARC in addition to the full 443 tax payment for me to support the overall budget.
Well, and just to clarify, the ARC, is the ARC. It is the legal required contribution. So Councilman Good is referring to just an additional.
Annual required contribution.
Right, he's referring to an additional payment out of a source other than the 443 money to keep the ARC and that additional payment at 8 million, did you say, sir?
Correct.
At 8 million. And again, that could be a use of the contingency if that's what council wants to do. I mean, that's up to council. I have used the model that has been provided by the new actuaries. I've put different assumptions on earning rates in there. I've added the projected revenues from 443, and the models show that the unfunded liability will pay down well within the remaining life of the tax. The
And
way
I'd
we're
like to,
doing it.
I'm sorry, Mark, excuse me. I'd just like to make a comment, and it seems like we address this every year. The ARC is the annual required contribution. When we passed 443, we made a statement. We will pay the ARC every year out of the general fund, not go into the monies from raised by the revenue from 443. Every penny from 443 goes down to pay down the PSPRs. It's working just as we designed it. And then we said we will continue to pay the ARC out of general fund, which is exactly what we've done. It's all working beautifully. And so I would be very concerned about taking a couple of more $1 million and adding it to an ARC that's not part of the annual required contribution. So I guess I would disagree with you, Councilman Good, and I just need to say that, so. Anybody else would like to make a comment on this? Go ahead, Michael.
Well, you know, we've talked a little bit about the CARES funding, and I was going to bring to the meeting on the 28th some ideas about how you want to spend or want to consider spending the $5,080,000 plus or minus that we've been allocated. And I've heard Councilman Blair loud and clear that he thinks maybe a portion of that should go towards potentially public safety raises or raises in general. And I've also heard Councilman Good say that he would like to see some of that money maybe potentially be allocated to go to what the original ARC was in fiscal year 19, which I guess is about 2.6 million more than it is now. I also have a list of projects that I think make some sense, and realistically, I'm comfortable with you guys having a real dialogue about what you want to spend where, because that's what your job is.
Do you have my checkbook in there?
I do not. Do you have $500,000 in your checkbook? Because I'll take that instead of these other ideas. But nevertheless, if you have other ideas that you'd like to be considered as part of this, beyond the ones I've shared with you individually, or the ones that Councilman Good has brought up and Councilman Blair brought up, please get with me, and we'll allow for a real dialogue about everything that's on the table, because I think that's my responsibility to bring those things forward.
Thank you, City Manager. I appreciate that. I just think this is a one-time opportunity, and we should not waste it. Any other comments from council folks? Go ahead. Yes, Councilman Shiska.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mark, I know that we've talked at times in the past about the most judicious time to add money to PSPRS. And what I was wondering was, in these economic conditions, which are so-so at best, would this be a good time to worry about putting more money into PSPRS?
Again, it's kind of outside the scope of any of our knowledge, I'm afraid. I mean, the stock market, I think, was up 600, Dow was up 600 points today. I think, and I am a big fan of you invest over time, so you don't throw large sums of money at a market, at a 401 or a pension plan at one time. You spread it out over the year, and as Councilman Good just said, dollar cost average those investments. So, you know, I would hate to try to call it, if you will, that we're going to save everything and we're going to deposit, you know, the whole 15 million next June because we're going to see losses this year, because I can't tell you that's the truth. But if we pay a little each month, that's really the way to get the amount you want to pay in the year in there. Just a little bit every month is the way you need to do it, or should do it.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Blair.
Just one last thing, and the thing with the employee raises is from my standpoint, it's to do it for them sooner than later, Mr. City Manager. And if our numbers come out the way they're coming out now, that money won't be spent because it's already in contingency. If this is just to give the employees their fair due sooner than later. So I don't believe it's taking money out of the federal money. I believe it's just securing the folks that work for the city, especially our police officers, to let them know we care about them, and we're not, the flip side is saying, hey, you know, we don't care. So, but I know we all do.
And Councilman Blair, I just want to say, I know it's kind of off budget, but I have talked to several of them about how are you guys doing, and they're being inundated with lots of cookies and candy and flowers, and our community loves our men and women in blue, and God bless them for showing that. I really appreciate it. Councilwoman Scholl, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
No, I think you know, I'm excited to move forward with this CARES Act money and see what our opportunities are. And I agree, Councilman Blair, that raises are important. You know, investing in your people capital is just as important as other capital projects. So, I think based on our tax information that we've been getting, it's been more encouraging than I think many of us thought it was going to be.
Right.
So I feel, encouraged moving forward. Of course, there's a lot of unknown at hand. So it's, treading lightly, but confidently as well.
Very good, thank you. Councilwoman Roosing, any comments?
I'm trying to look at the long-term picture here, and we have so many uncertainties, and we have no idea when our sales tax revenue is going to recover. So as far as the CARES Act, I just feel we should keep it in our pocket because we may need it not only for just raises, but maybe to prevent layoffs if things get really unexpectedly worse than we will realize financially.
Well, we certainly have an open door to Mr. Lamar.
Yeah, and that's certainly something we could talk about is holding on to it. I don't want to give anybody a fear that we're looking at layoffs because that's not really on the agenda at this point.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Mayor Mangarelli, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Not at this time.
Okay, very good. So can we please have a motion? Oh, thank you.
There's none.
Okay, no one raising their hand.
No, ma'am.
So what we need to do is we actually need to recess, we never formally recess the council meeting. We gotta close the
Well,
public hearing.
we have to, we need to close the public hearing, and then we need to call a special meeting to order to adopt the resolution.
Very good.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Those in favor, let's take a vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes,
And Mayor Mangarelli.
Yes.
very good. So now we will move to adopt the resolution.
Nope, we need to call a special meeting to order. We need to adjourn this meeting and call.
Oh,
a
I'm sorry, special meeting. I apologize. Thank you. So can I have a motion to,
Just recess.
so we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. And we'll do a roll call. Sarah, we need to do another roll call, right?
Yes, I know. I'm navigating about 15 things right now.
I
Just
know,
one
I'm
second.
looking at all of this too. It's-
Mayor Mangarelli.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes,
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Here.
Councilman Sischka?
Here.
All are present.
all right, very
Adoption
good.
of Resolution number 2020-1748.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt resolution number 2020-1748.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Please do a roll call vote.
Councilman Blair?
Absolutely.
Councilman Good?
No.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes,
And Mayor Mangarelli.
Yes.
Passes 6-1. Now, Mayor Pro Tem, if you wouldn't mind please adjourning the special meeting, and then we will call the regular meeting back to order.
so
No
now
need
we will adjourn the special meeting and go back into our regular meeting.
for- Thank you.
So now we are on item number B, is that right?
Correct. Public hearing and approval of an application to annex James Property ANX 20-002.
Good afternoon, George, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Very good, thank you. So tell us about item number B.
Item letter B is an annexation of a very small piece of property, and the intent is to bring it into the city from an adjacent county property, add it into a subdivision, which is the next item on your
Right.
agenda, and incorporate it into a lot to allow that lot to have a larger yard for the development that's proposed on it. A couple of unique things associated with this. The property in question is one of the smallest annexations I think we have ever done. It's the smallest in land area. It meets the minimum requirements by state law to do that, but it's something that's an unusual attempt to just simply enlarge a lot that's already existing within the city and within a subdivision. The proposal is also to establish the initial zoning as you bring property in through an annexation, In this particular case, unusual to most annexations, the initial zoning will remain the same. So we were bringing it in from the county with county zoning, and I apologize, I need to get the PowerPoint presentation up here. I thought we had it.
So you're gonna need to.
Mark says, don't touch anything. Put you in charge? Thank you. Perfect.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. So the property in question is adjacent to the lots on the right-hand side of the map are in the city. It's adjacent to that. It's a little notch area that remained in the county at the time of the annexation of what is now Walden Farms or Walden Ranch. The actual subdivision name is Walden Ranch. The area in question is zoned R1L 18 in the county. That's equivalent to our zoning district of SF 18. So that initial zoning established when bringing it in through the annexation would become SF 18. It will be attached to the adjacent parcel, and we'll move that forward. That adjacent parcel is in the Walden Ranch subdivision. Its zoning is SF 6. That's a higher intensity zoning, but as you can see, the parcel in question is much larger than the single-family 6 lots that exist throughout the rest of the subdivision. This, in fact, is roughly equivalent to that 18 zoning in size. So it would be brought in, it would have a different zoning category than the rest of the lot, but we have lots all over town that are split by zoning, not an issue. We look at each of them for development purposes, and because this is primarily an open area, perhaps a pool or a yard, it won't make any difference from a zoning standpoint. The area in question specifically for the annexation is indicated on the map above. The intent is, again, to bring it in, attach it to the subdivision, further attach it to the lot, allow development on that particular lot. One other unique feature of this request is that both of the adjacent lots in the city and the lot that the property is being brought in from in the county are all owned by the same entity. It's Ron James and the James family who owns all of those properties. There are no other adversely affected property owners involved in the process. This went before our Planning and Zoning Commission for review. They provide a recommendation on the zoning category of SF 18. And at this point, what we're looking for is the approval to move forward with the annexation and to establish the zoning at SF 18. And I would be happy to answer any questions you have. We probably do have Mr. James on the line if you have specific questions for him, but this is a very straightforward approach.
Thank you.
I'll
Councilwoman Rusine, I believe, has a question.
Thank you. Since we don't have a Google satellite or a topo, all we have is these elevations here. As I understand it, this property is located on top of that hill in Walden Farms. Half of it was cannibalized for fill or something, and it's a big scarred area, but the lot's going to be on top of that hill, right? And surrounding property to the highway.
The property proposed for annexation is at the crest of the hill and slightly west of the crest of the hill. Most of the slope and most of the two lots that are adjacent, Lot 68 where this property would be attached and Lot 69 which is just south of it, again 68 and 69, are mostly undisturbed. Most of the grading has occurred throughout the areas a little further down the slope from this area. So this would allow for the additional property to be at the crest of that hill.
And the owner's planning on putting up one house up there?
So there would be one house on Lot 69, and this would become a portion of the backyard of that house. And if you picture the slope of the hill, this would allow the house near the top of the hill with views in multiple directions, and this additional property allows for a yard in the roughly same elevation as the house, rather than a long sloped front yard with less usable space.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Can I have a motion to,
Mayor, I move to
Close
close the public hearing.
Second.
we have a first and a second. Let's take a roll call vote, please, Sarah.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangali?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ANX 20-002.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Please roll call vote.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schull?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangarelli?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item C, which is related. Thank you, George.
Thank you. Item C is simply the next step in the process, which is to take the property, once the annexation is complete, incorporate it into the adjacent subdivision, and, I'm sorry, that's a very complicated looking plan, and make it part of Lot 68 so that it would become an additional land area in Lot 68.
Any questions or comments from council members? All right, can we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve revision of Plat RVP 20-001, extending the boundary of the Walden Ranch subdivision.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schull?
Yeah.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangarelli?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. So now we will move on to item D. Do we have any, Sarah, you will let me know if we have any hands
Yes, I'll let
raised
you
on
know if we
Zoom?
have
Okay,
any
thank
public
you.
comment.
So
The
item-
next item is approval of city contract number 2020-204 to VSS International, Inc. for the fiscal year 20 annual chip seal project.
Good afternoon, Craig. How are you?
Good. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem,
Good to
Council.
see you.
Good to see all of you. I'm sorry. Good to see all of you. Glad to be back in the warm country,
It
dry
was actually
country.
good to see you in person, too.
So this item first item I have before us today is to, turn the right page, consider a contract with VSS International for the FY20 annual chip seal project. As we have shown here on the vicinity map. So this is part of our pavement preservation program. This project will be the installation or application of chip seal to multiple streets in 4 different areas here, as well as a surface coating over the chip seal to seal it up even more so. So each of these areas, we have the Thumb Butte area. Then we have the East Merritt area within the city. Area 3 is up around the airport and SR 89 area. And then Area 4 is in the Willow Lake Samaritan area. All right, we'll go back. All right, missing the next piece. Specific streets that are being considered in these areas are West Gurley Street, Thumb Butte Road, East Merritt, 5th Street, 6th Street, East Moeller, North Mount Vernon, North Virginia Street, Thompson Drive, Bear Drive, Antelope Drive, Clare Street, Julia, Janice, Leonetta Court, and Bala Court. As we've spoken before in regards to pavement preservation, this is another type of product to preserve our streets. We've already performed our crack sealing for the year. We have brought forward to you associated with the mill paved streets where we're doing the Lithtech product. We have brought forward Wilkinson Drive, so all projects that are in the works and or complete like Wilkinson Drive is. From this, we've also discussed the pavement program and where we will be ultimately. And Councilman Good has been an advocate, making sure that we are getting our electronic system up to par. We are planning presentations for study on the 28th for you as far as where that's at. All the streets in here, they meet all the criteria from the program, but our system wasn't able to electronically provide the information to us. We had to manually pull it out of there. Presentation on the 28th is additional work that has been performed as part of the preservation program, and we are getting to that point. Will automatically give us that information, so we're getting there. So with all these streets, then there will be a matter of some repairs, the application of the chip seal, application of the oil over the top of that in order to preserve them and give us a longer life of these streets. So we bid it, had good interest by contractors, ultimately got two bids with our recommendation of VSS International as the low bid as $789,490. And with the award of the contract, then we're anticipating to have notice to proceed next week on July 20th, and then commence construction next week as well, with completion in September. And we would love to get lots of moisture to replenish our lakes. On the flip side, moisture will affect this project and then could ultimately affect the completion time of that. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Yes, Councilwoman Rusine.
Have we used VSS International, and I see they have the word international.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have.
have
They've performed work up here a number of times.
Okay, and it was satisfactory.
Yes, and if there has been any issues, they have come to the table and taken care of things on warranty.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilman Shiska.
Craig, you mentioned West Gurley. Now, does it start at Montezuma and go west?
We will start at Park Avenue, right there where we have all of the crack sealing,
Right.
the fog sealing, the obliteration of the stripes that make that roadway currently extremely difficult to maneuver early in the morning and late in the evening.
Sure.
So we will cover all of that up,
So you're going from Park Avenue west?
correct, all the way to the city limits.
All right. Yeah, I was just concerned that those poor folks like Rosa's and those people once again would have construction in front of their businesses. So park sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
And will that have priority to get going soon?
I do not know what area they're planning on starting immediately. Once we do have the notice to proceed, then we will get their schedules, and then we get a biweekly schedule every week, so we know a week out then where they will be next.
Very good. I'd just like to commend your communications. You know, every week we get an update on everything, and it goes out in the city, and so you've really done a good job of that, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any other comments from council?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
move to approve city contract 2020-204.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Roosing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yeah.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangarelli?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. So now we'll move on to item number E.
Approval
Craig, I
of city
think-
contract number 2020-219 with Asphalt Paving and Supply, Inc. for the Mile High Water Main Improvements Project, and approval of city contract number 2018-117A4, an amendment to city contract number 2018-117 with Shepherd Westnitzer, Inc. for post-design services.
And Mr. Dossett, you're still with us.
Hello again. Next item. So yes, as Sarah mentioned there, this item ultimately is to consider two contracts. One for the construction and then one for the post-design services to back up the project. This project is all about replacement of old water lines, undersized water lines, improving the neighborhoods in regards to water quality and water quantity that we can serve. We consider this as part of the small water mains replacement program. And a good portion of this neighborhood has all got 2-inch galvanized water lines that can date back to the 40s, 50s in there. Sometimes the lines are even smaller than 2-inch. So there currently is no fire protection to speak of in these neighborhoods. So this project will bring in 6- and 8-inch mains. It will loop the system into Oregon, so we will improve water quality by water movement, improve water quantities with the looping, and, add that fire protection, as well as many of these locations that we're addressing with these projects are continuous maintenance issues for us. They don't produce the major blow-ups and issues that we've had other places, but we have constant small leaks, so it's water loss, as well as just the labor and cost, the expense associated with continually fixing leaks in these areas. So with that, we would like to recommend approval of the two contracts. Asphalt paving and supply on the construction side ultimately was the low bid from 5 bidders at the $1,512,812.12. Lots of 12s. And then the second contract with our engineering firm for the post-design services, as-built and such, to complete out the project at $69,398. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So it looks like the completion date will be Christmas present to the city.
Yes.
Very good. Councilwoman?
Is there a sewer system here, or are they on septic?
There is sewer in this neighborhood also. There are some sewer repairs and/or replacements in small segments within this project as well, if we were going to have conflicts. And the sewer system also was cameraed, inspected, reviewed, everything to make sure what was needed in there before we take and replace the pavement with the water line project.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that no stone was left unturned, so to
No,
speak.
and there will be a lot of stones on this project.
Yes, and it is in the city, not the county, right?
This is in the city, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other comments from council? Questions? Anything from the public, Sarah?
No, ma'am.
Very good. Can we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to award city contract number 2020-219.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Rousing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangarelli?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. So that will conclude our meeting.
One more motion.
One more motion, Billy.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Oh,
I
I
move to
apologize.
award city contract number 2018-117A4.
Second.
First and a second, please roll call vote.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilmember Rousing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Yes.
Councilman Sischka?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Yes.
And Mayor Mangarelli? Maybe he disconnected. Let me check. He disconnected. Passes 6-0.
All right, very good. So we lost Mayor Mingarelli.
Yes.
I just want to say, Sarah, I think we've done a great job for our first Zoom meeting, and appreciate the public being so patient and tuning in with us. So very good. I do not have a quote. I was going to say, Mayor Mingarelli, we miss you, and I hope that you're having a great time with your family. So, all right. So with all of that, this meeting is adjourned.
You.